Hey Juan, welcome to the SABM podcast.
Hey, Scott, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, and it's been great getting to know you and as part of the 10X Vets group you recently joined, and I'm glad we had an opportunity kind of right away to put you on the all call and to be able
Yeah, it
to
was
talk.
great. I hadn't done a presentation in a while, so it was a little bit scary, but we got through it, and I think we provided some good value to everybody.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the presentation, and just I think the topic is relevant to a lot of folks that have a business, and you help people kind of provide access to capital, right? Maybe they're in a tough situation, or maybe they're looking to scale and needing capital to do so. And I just remember from the presentation, oftentimes it's kind of tough, right, to share, like, if you're financially challenged or you're having an issue, and sometimes you just want to hide it, right? You're just like, don't
Yeah,
want.
it's not easy. I think for any business owner, and particularly a veteran or someone that's an academy grad, to admit that not only are they in a tough spot, but maybe they're in a spot that they can't that the business ultimately can't be successful. I think that's a very tough conversation to have with anybody. But many of us have not been successful in every business venture, and we've had one or two failures before we've had a success. So it's okay, right? It's not something anyone should be ashamed about.
Absolutely. And so you're the founder of Dominguez Advisory Group, and maybe just to kind of start off by sharing what it is that you do, maybe at a high
Sure.
level, and we'll kind of dive in from there.
Yeah, I think we do two. In fact, I know we do two main things, Scott. We provide um, business mediation for small and mid-sized companies that hit a bump in a road. I like to think of our firm as business advocates because, as we mentioned on our previous call that we had, roughly 30% of small businesses don't survive to year three, and it's as high as like 48% don't survive to year seven. And a lot of times, that there's two things that happen there. Number one, um, there is a bump in the road, as I like to call it, and with that, it might be, hey, we hit a tough patch of business, tough economic time, and all of a sudden I owe a creditor, or even worse, I've been sued by a creditor because I can't pay them back. We can get involved. We work on a no fee upfront. In fact, run from people that try to charge you a fee up front for what we do, because sometimes you never hear from them again. I've heard those horror
Mm.
stories, but no fee up front. And what we attempt to do is negotiate on your behalf in a non emotional way, paint a picture to your creditor, and try to reduce what you owe by 30 to 70%, and or reduce the level of the monthly payments to give you some breathing room, to give you some additional working capital, kind of defray those payments down the road a little bit, to help your business overcome that crisis. So that's number one, what we do. I'm a licensed mediator. Number two is some small businesses, particularly those where the business owner has a credit score of between 525 and 650, find it incredibly difficult. You can't go to a local bank to get a loan. You can go online, and if you've got a credit score over 750, you'll have five offers in the next 30 minutes. But if you're in that range, you have to spend an inordinate amount of time away from your business to try to find some financing. You work with me, we do an intake, we get some financial information, and we'll take that burden on your behalf to see if we can get you a line of credit, a short-term loan, either to continue to grow your business or to get through a liquidity crisis. So those are the two big things that we do.
And what are some of the key things that you've learned, after talking with creditors? It's we, so I'm a partner in the Academy Fund, and we're lenders, and so we kind of see things go both, but go both ways, right? Like
Right.
sometimes you'll have somebody that that's forthcoming if they're having an issue and wanting to maybe figure out a game plan, and then sometimes it's like you don't hear from the people. Like, like, hey guys, you got to pick up your phone, right? You have to text us back if, or like let us know what's going on or what's your game plan. But I'm curious to hear from you, what's the experience that you've had with lenders, that you've had to work
Yeah.
with on the client's
Scott,
behalf.
I think a couple of things. Number one, they appreciate the fact that we reach out, right? Because there's many folks that, they're served and you still don't hear from them, and until sometimes it's too late for the business owner. So once we get involved, within 24 hours, I let the creditor know that, hey, we're here, we've been retained by the customer, by the client, and we want to help work for a mutually beneficial situation. And we'd like to do it as quickly as possible, depending on how many layers are between that attorney or that debt collector and the ultimate decision makers. Really depends on how quickly we can get a deal consummated. I would say on the short end, it's a couple weeks. On the long end, it might be 6 weeks. But they appreciate the fact that they're going to get something. And then we're always upfront and forthright and transparent about our customer's situation. If our customer feels like, hey, I do owe all this money and I do know that I want to pay it back, I just need some extra time, we'll paint that picture and share that story. If it's someone that it's going to take a while for their business to recoup, we'll try to work with the lender or the creditor to say, hey, listen, you're better off getting something now. If in the if this company goes bankrupt, you're going to be settling for pennies on the dollars in many cases, and no one wants that. And usually these creditors don't want to see a company go out of business. That's not the American way, right? So they appreciate the fact that we're transparent. We're going to get back to them in a timely basis. We're going to get them the information that they need if they need some additional documentation from our client. And ultimately, I think they really appreciate our professionalism because, to your point, there's a lot of people that don't do those things, don't get back quickly, aren't transparent, and those companies are much more difficult to work with.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the good thing, at least with this community, academy grads and veterans, it's 99.9%. They do what they say they're going to do, and they you can communicate. They communicate well, and they have a game plan. So, but yeah,
Without a
I'd
doubt.
imagine there's some wild stories out there with people that don't have those kind of same shared values.
Yeah, and I try to avoid working with those folks, but they do exist, and sometimes you don't find out till after the fact that they were perfectly capable of paying the whole thing. They just wanted to see if you could get them a reduced number. So yeah,
Uh,
those folks don't exist. I haven't met any of them, thankfully, in our network. So that's great.
yeah, yeah, awesome. Juan, what are some of your favorite success stories? I know you shared a few on the call last Friday, but I'd love to maybe if you maybe want to hit the highlight reel real quick because I think that makes it real for people.
Sure.
How,
Yeah, let me tell you a couple of recent stories. We had one that was more of a contract um, situation that we got involved with. So it was a small restaurateur, had three restaurants, and he had a deal with a company like Cintas, right? For it wasn't Cintas, but like Cintas, where they paid for linens and laundry service and uniforms and things of that nature. And it was like a $40,000 a year contract. And they figured out as the contract was coming towards expiration that they could do it for half, if not less. And so they wanted out of this contract. His operations manager sent an email to the company and they thought, hey, we're good to go. And they find out after the fact that no, you have to send a registered letter to the company in order to officially cancel the contract. Now, would a judge have upheld that in court? Who knows, right? But it's a gamble. So we went out to the company's attorney and we were like, hey, they thought they did the right thing. Small restaurant, it's a small world. You don't want these guys telling how the big bad company wouldn't let them out of a contract. What can we do here? And they played hardball at the beginning, and they wanted our client to at least accept some level of service. Maybe it was 20,000 a year for 5 years, and to continue with the company so they wouldn't lose a customer. I went back to my client. He goes, Juan, I do not want anything to do with this company moving forward. I was like, okay. And on the last day before I turned it over to a very good litigation attorney that I know here in the state of Maryland to take over my client's case, because I'm not an attorney. On the last day that we were doing that, the company came back and said, you know what? We'll settle for $20,000. So it stinks that our client had to pay $20,000 to get out of a contract, but they saved $180,000 over the next 5 years that he can put to good use in his 3 restaurants. So that was a good one. And then I had actually it was a veteran-owned company out in California. They're a mobile wholesale provider. I won't get into what that business is, but they owed 290,000 to 2 creditors, Scott. We were able to reduce that to 230,000. More importantly, in this case, he was paying 21,000 a month to service the debt, and not really making a dent on either of those. And we were able to restructure that debt with both creditors down to 4,000 a month each. So 21,000 went to 8 for a 12-month period. Now, obviously, there's some balloon payments after month 12, but the CEO just needed some time to bring in some additional business to repair some relationships along the way. And he felt, hey, if I can get that relief, I'll be able to make the business successful. So, it's over a 60 or 70% increase in working capital that we were able to secure for that client. And then we just work on a percentage of the working capital or the debt that we're able to reduce. And so that's how we make our money. But again, we don't get paid a nickel unless the client wins their case.
All right. Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing those stories. And as we look out over the course of the remainder of Q3 and Q4 here, the back half of the year, what are some of your most important, maybe short-term goals, for your business, and then maybe even longer term, if you look out over the horizon, a few years down the road, what would you ultimately like to accomplish?
I appreciate that. I've only started this kind of entrepreneurial effort. I've had other entrepreneurial endeavors throughout my 30-year business career. However, about a year ago, I decided, hey, I didn't want to continue in corporate America. I had a great job with a $1 billion company. I managed a team of 600 here stateside, and it was my decision to leave. And I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do next? And I took some time and I said, you know what? I want to own my own consulting practice, but there's a million things that you can do with consulting. And I kind of did some research and I found this little nugget that's a very small niche, but it's an important niche kind of in the small business space. And so what I'd like to do is right now, I'm probably 70% going out there and finding customers. I get a list of small businesses every month in the state of Maryland that have been served. And so I call those folks, and sometimes I know that they've been served before they do, if you can believe it. And or not served, but that they're about to be served, and their company is going to be on the hook to a creditor. It's about a 70 to 30 referral mix. I think in the next year, I want to grow my business through organizations like SABM, through organizations like 10X Vets, to a 90% referral business. And actually, over the last few weeks, I've gotten a lot of meetings by being a part of those organizations. And I've got 1 or 2 other networking groups that I belong to. So that's great because usually when someone's referred, you don't have to sell them on why they should work with you, right? Particularly when it's academy to academy or veteran to veteran. There's a lot of built-in trust there. So I may not be able to help. I had a conversation with a veteran today that their business was too far gone to help. I'll kind of leave it at that. But I was a great sounding board for them to kind of validate some decisions that they were going to make on moving forward with bankruptcy and things of that nature. So we can be a great sounding board because I've got 30 years of business experience. I've seen a lot of different situations. But to go back to your question, hey, in the next 12 months, I'd love to be a 90 or 100% referral-based business, and helping as many veterans and academy grads as I can, or people that they know, business owners that they know that have hit that bump in the road, because we're usually successful 80 to 90% of the time in getting them some relief.
Well, you offer a great service, and yeah, cold calling is no fun. So that's why I think that's why that we exist here. It's just I think it's when you're doing business with people that yeah, you share the same background, the same values. It's I'm glad that at least the podcast and this is useful to people so that
Yeah, no,
they don't have to make cold calls.
it's a you and your and Stacy and others, I'm sure throughout the years have done a great job into building this into a very robust mastermind or networking or whatever you want to call it, organization. So kudos to you.
All right. Well, Juan, is there anything that else that you'd like to cover today on the podcast? Were there any questions that I should have asked that I didn't ask? Any parting shots before we wrap up?
Parting shots, I would say that you know it's tough to admit you've hit a bump in the road, but the quicker that you're able to have conversations with people like you or myself or other people in this network, bounce ideas off of them, there's a likelihood that you will find a exit that you or an option that you hadn't considered. So, a boss once told me that bad news doesn't get better with time, right? So the quicker you're able to take that head on, and to the extent that I can help you in that process, by all means, look me up on LinkedIn or on our website, dominguezadvisors.com. I'm happy to spend 15 or 30 minutes on the phone, and it doesn't always lead to business for me. But what I like to think is, even if I can give back, even if I can give some good advice or have you look at something in a different way, I'm happy to provide that service as well.
All right. And Juan, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, we're on social media, primarily Facebook and LinkedIn. You can certainly visit our website at dominguezadvisors.com. And again, our business is really simple to understand. It's can we help you with a creditor, and can we help you with some financing if your credit score isn't where you'd like it to be? And I think if you keep us in mind for those two things, we'd be happy to help you on that journey.
Awesome. And we'll post your website and your LinkedIn profile on in the show notes if that works for you. And
Absolutely.
here's to an awesome finish to 2025.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's back to school here for the kiddos pretty soon. Some of them are already back. So on to the fourth quarter for many of us. So thanks for everything, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome on.